All right, we're back with another high ticket sales role play. I have Dylan, who's going to play the closer for a mobility coaching offer, and Jeremy is going to be the prospect. We're going to jump into the discovery, go through beginning to end. What are the things that you need to be doing in your discovery so you can close more deals, make more money, and live the life that you want to live? So, without any further ado, Dylan, kick us off with your opening question.
So, Jeremy, what's the biggest challenge that you're having with your mobility right now?
It's basically I have low back pain, and so I would say just the fear that I might tweak my back. I've had like when I go to the gym, I do squats and deadlifts and stuff like that, and then sometimes as I go heavier and heavier and heavier, I'll notice that I'll tweak my back, and I have like really tight hamstrings. So I feel like that's part of it. So like I've thrown my back out doing little things like freaking doing laundry or picking something up off the ground. The other day I was doing cleaning, around the house and just bending over. I feel like my hamstrings tighten up on me. I sprained my ankle a lot playing basketball in high school and stuff. And so, like, when I do squats, I don't really go like all the way down to the ground. When I do squats, I feel like my back kind of rolls, and I just don't have the flexibility in general. So, sorry, the comments are cracking me up here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Just the tightness in the hamstrings and the hips and ankles, affects me being able to do workouts at the gym, playing golf, like twisting and stuff like that. So I struggle with a lot with the back pain.
Understood. So, you're experiencing lower back pain, and particularly when you're in the gym, when you start to lift some heavier weight, you actually tweak your back.
Hmm.
And you believe this is down to tight hamstring and hips as well, you mentioned. And you've even experienced where you're thrown at your back, even doing very basic things like laundry
Yeah.
or even simple movements like bending down.
Hmm.
And you also sprained your ankle in the past as well. And that's also resulting where you can't squat all the way down
Right.
and you're
Yeah.
lacking flexibility in general. Is that
Yeah.
accurate?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Interesting. When it comes to this lower back pain, Jeremy, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the absolute worst, 1 being you don't even notice it, whereabouts are we at on that scale?
Right now.
Let's say when,
That's what I was gonna say, Dylan. You gotta be careful how you phrase the questions. What Jeremy said is exactly what you needed to put on the end of the question. Where are you at right now? Not sure I'm loving the question, but it's not going to kill the call. So I'm just going to leave you go and see where it
Mhm.
goes. But basically, what you need to be clear on is what exactly are you asking? Are you asking Jeremy right now, where are you on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of your current back pain? In other words, is he in pain
Mm,
right now on this call? Is he fine? Did he tweak it the other day and now it's recovered? I get the point of the question, but
mm,
you've got to really hone in on specifically you ask him right now. Because if you do that multiple times through a call where you miss those things, every question becomes a question, the prospect clarifying your question, and then you having to re-ask the question. So 10 questions becomes 20 questions just from
mm.
that one little shift. Make sense? All right.
Makes perfect sense. And just a question on that. Would you even go as far as saying, what would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 when it gets at its worst in the gym?
No, because right now at this point in the call, what I want to know is his current situation. So I wouldn't be
Hmm.
saying when it's bad or when you're in the gym or this. If you want to know, is he in pain right now? Then you're just talking
Hmm.
about right now. Yeah.
Yeah, my question for you, Josh, is like the 0 to 10 range or 1 to 10 range is like one way of quantifying it. It's kind of hard to how do you quantify the mobility issues. And so I'm wondering, that 0 to 10 question is probably a pretty good question for quantifying. And if you have any other ideas, let me know because I actually have a couple of clients that are in this space.
I don't want to throw Dylan off, but I personally would have wanted to start with quantifying the quantity of times right now this is happening and then
Mm,
quantifying the intensity of those times.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't have started with intensity. I would have started with,
Yeah.
okay, so you've tweaked your back when you've done squats and other things in the gym. in the last week, whether it be in the gym or whether it be at home picking up laundry, how many times have you tweaked your back? Oh, I tweaked it 3 times. Okay. Now, when you say tweak your back on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you're in excruciating agony, you're questioning whether you need an ambulance to come and, take you down to the hospital,
Right.
and 0 being it's a bit of discomfort for a few moments, where would you put that on a scale of 1 to 10? Now, by stacking those two questions together, I've got a whole picture. Whereas
Okay.
personally, I think it's a bit more weird to start with on a scale of 1 to 10. Where are you at on a scale of 1 to 10 on the thing that I haven't clarified yet? When is it happening? So
Okay.
what are we asking about the 1 to 10? Hypothetical generalizations? Or are we asking the 1 to 10 of the 3 times that it did happen in the last 7 days? You see how we need to kind of focus on what event are we looking at first before we get the details of the event, as opposed to asking, it's kind of like if I said to you, Jeremy, on a scale of 1 to 10, how good are Tony Robbins events? You'd be like, well, which one? Like your very next question would be which event? Whereas if I
Yes.
said, of Tony Robbins events, which did you go to in the last month? Date with Destiny. Okay, scale of 1 to 10, how was it? We need to focus on the event first before getting the details of the event. Does that make sense as far as chronologically?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that does make sense. Thank you for
Okay.
that.
You're very, very
Yeah.
welcome. All right,
No, I
Dylan.
appreciate that. That's a better angle to take it. So Jeremy, you mentioned that you're tweaking your back in the gym and doing basic movements like laundry. In the past week, how many times did you end up tweaking your back?
I haven't in the last week. I would say it was a couple of months ago was the last time that I tweaked it, and it was probably from doing deadlifts, if I remember correctly, probably 3 months ago.
Pause.
I
Sorry to interrupt you,
Okay.
Jeremy. For everybody in the chat and Dylan and Jeremy, the moment Jeremy said that, oh, it's a couple of months ago, what are we thinking, guys, in terms of what we need to do in terms of selling? Put in the chat, folks.
see how it's affecting me right now.
100%. It's like, well,
Yeah.
if you haven't tweaked your back in 2 months, why the fuck are we on this call?
Right.
Right. So straight away, I'm not saying to unsell right now, Habib, but if you're thinking of sales as being chronological, okay, do you have a pain or a problem right now? Yes, you do. How bad is it? Okay,
Yeah.
it's pretty bad. How's it affecting the other areas of your life? Okay, it's pretty bad. We can follow the bouncy ball step by step through the discovery. But if
Yeah.
we're at this point, we have to almost take a time out, not literally with the prospect, but in our mind and think, okay, I haven't got the very first thing that I need on the sales call, which is this is bothering this person right now. If it's not bothering them right now, there's no shot they're going to give you money today. Now, the
Okay.
truth is, it must be bothering them right now because otherwise they wouldn't be on the call,
Right.
right?
Yeah. And I was
Unless they
gonna.
went on a 2-month vacation since the last time and they've only just got back yesterday and have Wi-Fi that they can take a phone call. I mean, that's a pretty far-fetched example, but there's got to be something going on. So the moment Jeremy says that, I'm not going to cut him off. I'm not going to be judging. I'm not going to be unselling. I'm not going to be assuming he's not a potential fit. I'm going to be curious, thinking, okay, he mentioned this isn't 2 months. I'm going to finish off whatever we're talking about there with the tweak in the back. But then I'm going to have to revert back to, well, what's going on right now? Does that
Yeah.
make sense, everyone? Like straight away, I'm thinking, okay, we're going to have to cover this base first. Otherwise, we're not going anywhere in the call. All right, keep going, guys.
So I last time I heard it, Dylan, was probably 2 or 3 months ago when I was doing CrossFit classes. But it's something that's kind of constantly in the back of my mind. Like this morning, picking up my little girls, bending over and picking them up. It's like I'm worried that it could just tweak at any moment. And so like I'm hyper aware of it when I'm just doing regular stuff, not just the lifting.
Understood. So when you say you tweaked your back a couple of months ago doing CrossFit, was that the first time that this happened?
No, no, no. The first time it happened was probably back in like 2014, so maybe 10 years ago. And that was like the worst instance of it. Like that was I literally went to the hospital for it because I thought I had a herniated disc. It was just from bending over and reaching into the washing machine to pull out some clothes. And it was just it was a muscle strain, so I took some muscle relaxers and everything. But there's been times where I've missed work because of it. Like when I was selling windows, I literally was on short-term disability for like four to 6 weeks, and had to kind of ease back into it. So those were the two times where it's been real bad, where I was like laid up in bed for it. So again, I'm really kind of hypersensitive to it, and luckily it hasn't never been that bad again since. But I'm just worried about, again, the tight hamstrings, pulling a hamstring, pulling a back, things like that.
Okay, pause. In the chat, folks, what's the most important thing from a sales process point of view as far as what we're doing and what we're going to have to do that we're noticing with Jeremy? Put in the chat.
I think I'm talking too much.
100%. We're going to be on this call way too long if Dylan doesn't adapt his sales process, cutting you off, more direct questions, speaking quicker, getting you through things. So straight away, I knew this because I know you as a person, Jeremy, but let's forget that I didn't know that.
Yeah.
After a couple of times, you've got to say, is there a pattern here? Have I asked one opening question and the prospect gave me a long answer because it was an opening question? That's fine. Have I asked now 3 questions and every answer is I get the information I need, and then we kind of have a story about it, and then we go back through the same information and we're going around in a circle with all of the responses. Once you start spotting the patterns, guys, you've got to adapt your process. It's the whole point of scriptless selling. It's how you can have a conversation with someone that doesn't really want to tell you anything, and you're going to have to pull more information out of them. And then you have another prospect that tells you not too much, but they're telling you more than you need to fit in the call within 30 minutes. And you have to adapt your process. Okay, that's the first thing there.
I thought I was helping them out by giving them context.
Well, and that's the crazy thing. You're giving someone context, but also time's ticking. So it's both
Okay.
at the same time. You're doing a good job as far as giving the reasons, giving the stories, but Dylan's got to be watching the clock at the same time.
Yeah, I was trying to be easy in that sense by answering questions that he wasn't necessarily asking me.
I get it. And then the other thing, guys, is look at the difference in terms of starting to heat up the conversation and really lock Jeremy in on the pain. If after the previous response Jeremy gave, I had done a summary, which Chris put in the chat and said, okay, got it. So if I'm understanding correctly, Jeremy, you haven't actually tweaked your back in the last couple months, but every single day you're going through the day with this hyperactive mind that's controlling the way you're thinking and moving through life because of fear that you're going to tweak it. Is that accurate? Yes.
Yeah.
Now we've locked in on what is the current pain. The current pain is the fear, the hyperactivity, and the way it's affecting you nonstop. Without that summary, though, we don't we don't divide the two paths from something that was 2 months ago and therefore not really relevant to, okay, I understand that was irrelevant, but this is the pain you're currently in. Without that summary, you don't do that. And then we're still in this kind of broad trying to understand what's the pain, whereas you could have tightened that just with a summary. Is that clear, Dylan?
That makes so much sense. Yeah, I'm going in the wrong direction altogether now because he brought 10 years into it. So I totally get what you're saying and bringing it back to right now because that's when he's going to make a decision.
Yeah. The only thing we need to know at the front part of the call is right now. Sometimes there'll be context to why something's going on right now, but you got to really be vigilant as a salesperson that you keep the conversation on right now. Otherwise, you'll just have too much to talk about. And also, not only will you run out of time, but you're not heating the conversation up, because it's like if you try and heat up a glass of water, you're just trying to heat up a very small surface area. It could take 30 seconds. You put it on the stove and it heats up. If you try and heat up a whole house, even though you're trying to get both things to the same temperature, because you're trying to heat the whole house and there's this massive space, it's going to take hours or days. It's the same with this. If we're trying to heat up all of the history of Jeremy's tweaking his back from 10 years ago to today, you could do that, but you'd need to be on a 4-hour discovery call. We're not on a 4-hour discovery call. We can only heat up this precise moment, which is right now. Is this bad enough? Is this focused enough that you're going to have to do something today? Make sense?
It does. I guess what I'm curious about now is because he mentioned 10 years. Well, he mentioned 10 years and 2 times within that 10 years. So just how I'll tie that up to right now, if that makes sense.
Personally, I just don't think you even need that. Like, if we'd have just
Really?
focused on the fact that he's got a hyperactive mind, he's living in fear and it's affecting him, and we go deeper into how he's going
Mm,
through his daily life, hyperactive, in fear, in what way is that affecting the way he's moving through life? And is that, if it is, enough of a big deal that the thing that he's feeling and living out right now is enough for him to make a change? It's either enough or it's not. What happened 10 years ago doesn't really matter in the context of making a sale today.
yeah.
Got
No,
to
I really
focus on
appreciate that because a lot of what I've been taught is like very much like what have you been trying over the past few years. So I think I had like a light bulb moment there with
yep,
right now. So maybe if we could take it back to there and try and go in the right direction would be great.
beautiful. Go from there, Dylan.
Okay. So so Jeremy, by the sounds of things, what you're telling me here is 2 to 3 months ago was the last time you tweaked your back. But ever since then, you've basically been living in fear of re-injuring your back, doing simple things like picking up laundry, and you also mentioned picking up your girls. Is that right?
Right, absolutely.
How is this impacting your day-to-day life, Jeremy?
I mean, I sit in front of a computer for most of the day,
Pause.
so
It's not per se a leading question in terms of the verbiage. You said, how is it? But it's leading in the sense that we're trying to sell too quick. Be curious first. Let me give you an example. If someone's been having back pains for a number of years, 10 years, tweaking their back, what I'm curious about is when you had previously tweaked your back, between the times that you tweaked your back, did you have this level of hyperactivity and fear in the past? Now, if he turns around and says no, which if it was a real prospect, he would, because that's why he's on the call, he'd say, no, this time's different. Okay, why is this time different? Now we're getting to the real reason that we're on the call right now. And that's just leading with curiosity. Whereas your question, although it was the verbiage of it was fine, I know what you're doing and I know why you're doing it. And you're focusing too much on, let me move the conversation forward. Let me move the conversation forward. And the irony is, the more you try and move the conversation forward, the more you're going to go backwards. The more you just step back and go, I still don't understand, and start with trying to understand, you'll find that light bulb where you're like, oh, now this is all connecting. Now I can push. Now I can sell. Now I
Mm.
can close. Does that make sense?
Okay, so basically what you're saying is I should relay back to another time in the past when he had a tweak, and did he experience his hyperactivity back then as well?
Yes, but flip it upside down. It's more like this hyperactivity that you have now and this fear, is it different to in the past?
Okay.
Whereas what you're
Okay.
saying is the past different to now? That they're like they're the same thing, but
Yeah.
in the opposite direction. The only difference is I want to focus on the right now. Is the
Mm.
right now something significant, something specific, something meaningful? Or is it just the same it's been in the past? Now, if you're thinking logically about how do you get a sale, as I've drawn many times on a whiteboard, a billiard ball table, we need to find that a ball has been going one direction, it's pinged off in another direction. That's why they're on the call. Why is it pinged off in that other direction? Once you find that, that's the truth. That's the cause of the effect of to why we're on the call. Once you get to there, you're pretty much orbiting around what's going to get you the sale. So we need to find that first.
Hmm.
Make sense?
Makes sense. Okay.
Go from there.
So, Jeremy, this hyperactivity and fear you've been experiencing over the past 2 to 3 months, is it any different now than what it was previously
Contextual.
um,
Be contextual. Previously to what?
to the last time he tweaked his back?
Exactly. Say
Yeah.
that because you're
Okay.
helping him connect the dots. You're like, previously? What do you mean previously? He has to think too much. Don't make the prospects have to think about what you're asking them. Only make them think about going inside and feeling the emotions of what was going on. Don't make them confused or trying to figure out what you're trying to say. Okay, so is this hyper aware mind and this fear to simple things like just picking up laundry off the floor, is that any different now, Jeremy, to what it was like when you previously tweaked your back in the past? Oh, yeah, it's completely different. Why? And there's going to be something. There has to be something because
yep.
cause and effect tells you laws of physics. There has to be something. And it will probably be something really unconnected. I'll give you an example, but I don't want to put the stuff in the conversation here, but just an example. Jeremy could turn around and say something like, well, I never really had this fear of my back getting tweaked all the time. And if it tweaks again, it was not really a big deal for me. But what happened recently was I went to my daughter's birthday and she had a bunch of friends at the birthday party, and one of the other dads was in a wheelchair. Okay, so well, it made me realize like that child is completely deprived of a father figure and blah 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 blah. You get the point. There'll be something that's twisted something in his head. And that's why he's now on the call. And that's why the hyperactivity is there. And basically, ultimately, at the end of the call, you're saying, so how much longer do you want to continue having this hyperactivity, knowing that it's because you care so much about your daughter never having to be in that situation where she has a father that can't physically be there for her and physically, enjoy moments with her, and not get your mobility fixed at the root cause. Basically, Jeremy, you have two choices. Option one is you continue living with this hyperactivity, which comes from a good place. It's because you're a good dad and you care. Or you can say, I don't want to live with that hyperactivity. I don't want to live with that fear that I'm going to be a dad like that. I want to get to the root cause of it. So like from that one thing, even though I have a lot to do in the middle, I already know how the call's going to end. It's going to end with that, basically, how much longer do you want to live with the hyperactivity? But none of that hyperactivity matters until we go deeper into why it matters. What actually was the turning point for him? What was the shift? Does that make sense?
Makes so much sense. Yeah,
Does that make sense to
absolutely.
you, Jeremy?
Yes, sir.
Cool stuff. All right, Dylan, go from there.
Okay, so Jeremy, the last 2 to 3 months you've been living in fear, hyperactivity, especially when you're doing basic movements like even picking up your laundry. How is this different now than what you've previously experienced in the past when tweaking your back?
Well, I recently started seeing a lady that has young kids. So she's got a little chunky 10-month-old daughter and a going to be 3-year-old daughter here in a couple months. And just they always want me to pick them up, and the baby's on the ground, so having to bend over and pick her up off the ground, and then picking up the little one. She's always wanted me to pick her up and hold her. So, and that's been fairly recently, that I've started, being around them. So that's what's different now. I haven't had kids in my life for a while, so that's what's different.
Interesting. So you've met a new partner right now where she has a 10-month-old and a 3-year-old child.
In this
And
context, Dylan, you probably don't need to summarize that.
okay,
Like, just go to the next question.
okay, perfect.
Okay, understood. What would your next question be?
I would like to get more clarity on how recent.
Why does that matter?
Yeah, I guess that's a good question.
Do you know why this matters to Jeremy? Like, so,
About
so,
picking up
so
the
far, I
kids.
understand he's got a back that tweaks and he's got
Hmm.
fear for it. And now I have this other piece of information, which is he's dating a woman that has kids and the kids want to pick him up. I so far don't understand the connection between the two. Do you?
Not yet.
So ask him. Okay. And how does that connect to your fear of, tweaking your back, Jeremy? Like he
Yeah.
has to keep explaining it more because I don't understand how that's connected. I've got one piece of information and another piece of information. I'm like, okay, I'm confused. Right? If you're
Hmm.
confused, Jeremy's confused. Not confused in the sense of like senile, but confused in the sense of he isn't connecting these dots together himself. He's just telling you pieces of information that are correct and are useful, but he's not had the light bulb moment where it's all connected for him. Okay. Otherwise, which
Yeah.
people don't do, he would have said it in a very connected way. Well, I started dating this woman and she has kids. And she has kids that want me to pick them up. But I have fear of picking them up because of this, because of that, because of this. And he would have connected it all together. But he didn't, because people don't do that. That's why they get on the phone with a human being that is essentially someone that's helping them connect the dots. And it's the final connecting of the dots that gets them to take the action. If they have all the pieces, it's like you can't eat food if you just have the ingredients. You need to put the ingredients together and mix them up in a recipe. You have to actually go through that process. Most people have the raw ingredients to take action, to take massive action and to change their life. And they might even have the recipe. Do this, 10 ounces of this, cook this for 20 minutes, but they haven't actually put it all together. They need a chef that stood next to them saying, right, let me walk you through the steps of mixing these ingredients together. And then they're like, oh, wow, we baked a cake. Let's eat it. Fantastic. Give me a 10K piff. And that's how it works. Okay. So keep going from there. If you're confused, you've got to keep asking.
Okay, so you mentioned the kids in the back. Okay, so I guess so, yeah. So tell me, Jeremy, this hyperactivity and fear, like how is this impacting the relationship you have with those kids?
It's not really impacting the relationship I have with the kids. It's just that whenever I bend, like this morning, for example, I bent over and went to pick up one of the kids. I didn't have a tweak in my back, but it was tight. Like I mean, I feel like after sleep, going to sleep last night, I just didn't feel like my back was. I had a little bit of a dull pain in it and tightness in it. And so when I went to bend over, I felt the tightness in the back to pick them up. And I'm like, oh, better be careful, better brace myself a little bit because I'm just afraid of it tweaking again.
Kind of, I'm not exactly sure
No
what
worries. No
where to go
problem.
next.
Not a problem. Let me jump in. So what I'm trying to wrap my head around, Jeremy, is you've got a history of your back tweaking and other mobility issues. And now you're walking around with this hyper awareness of it. And you had this new relationship with the woman that has kids. I'm not quite understanding like what exactly is going on for you right now that has you potentially wanting to get this solved at the root cause.
I mean, it's something that I noticed just this morning, and I saw the ad, and it's something that's been bothering me for a while. You
What's been
know,
bothering you about it?
I mean, it's just like it's like it's annoying to have these like constant nagging like little hamstring tweaks here and there. I feel like I mean it's affected my fitness levels as an example, because like I'll do CrossFit for, 2 or 3 months and
Sure.
build up some strength and get to a point to where I'm getting stronger and then all of a sudden it sets me back,
Can,
you
can
know?
we just go back to the bit where you were mentioning about the relationship and the
Yep.
kids? And I could be wrong, but it sounded like that was something more of a turning point for you, as opposed to you've had
Right.
annoying niggles and
Right.
annoying tweaks for a number of years.
Right.
Is there anything that's changed in regards to this relationship with the woman with kids? Has that shifted something in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the fact that
Pause, Jeremy.
okay.
Do you see what I'm doing, guys? Like I'm not gonna let Jeremy go off in all of these different directions. I'm like, okay, you want to talk for 5 seconds about niggling pains? That's the same it's been for 10 years. I don't care about that because you're not gonna change if we focus in that direction. And like I'm cutting him off. And the irony is I'm still not attached though. Like I'm trying to focus on this part of the conversation that matters. But I don't care if we go back to this conversation about the woman and the kids, and Jeremy's like, no, there's really nothing there. It's not a big deal. Okay, no worries at all. So the niggling pains have been there for 10 years. Doesn't seem like that's been enough for you to get this handled. The woman with the kids, that also you mentioned is not a big deal. Is there something that's a specific reason that you need to get this handled right now? Like, we're either going to find something or we're not. And if we don't find something, I don't care. Like, I'm not attached. But even though I'm not attached to the outcome, I'm attached to my process. And my process is I'm going to keep trying to find something as to why we're on this call and why this call matters and why I should stay on this call. I'm attached to trying. I'm not attached to there being an outcome. I don't care. At the end of the day, if there isn't, there isn't. I'm just confused why he was on the call. But also bear in mind, my belief is it's an inbound call. People don't book fucking inbound calls for no reasons and turn up to the call.
My
So
apologies.
I,
I'm trying to role play as best I can with like a
doing
real. Yeah.
doing nothing wrong, Jeremy. All of
Okay.
this is still useful and it's still relevant prospects. This
Okay.
this is what a lot of prospects do. They'll be like, talking about this and talking about that. And a big thing that you need to do as a closer is to stay attached to your process. No, no, no. We need to find a burning problem that's right now. And if we can't do that within 15 minutes, which is your maxed cutout for like, if we haven't got to a burning problem in 15 minutes, why the fuck are we on the call? That's an
Right.
unsell. I'm not saying that you run a discovery to a total of 50 minutes, but the front part of the discovery is there a burning problem right now? If it's taking you 15 minutes to get to, I still don't think there's a burning problem right now, you're probably off to a non-starter. Shouldn't take you 15 minutes to get there. It should probably take you 3. When you're beginning, it might take you 5 to 10.
Play
Once you're
something
good,
where I actually do have more of a burning problem for him, just to make it easier
we
to.
can, yeah, we can switch the avatar
Okay,
to someone that's maybe more aware. But
maybe
does
okay,
before
maybe
we move on though, guys, does this make sense? Because this is still very useful. Like if you're on the call of a prospect that keeps going off in all these different directions, you've got to be attached to right now, we're trying to find a burning problem. And I'm going to keep bringing you to, okay, got it. So that's not a reason, no worries at all. That's not a reason, no worries at all. My tonality, my energy is doesn't bother me at all because it really doesn't. I'm going to just bring it back to my process of, okay, so is there something else, Jeremy, that has kind of led you to wanting to get this solved right now? Oh, yeah, it was this. Oh, okay. Well, I wish you told me that 10 minutes ago, but anyway, and then off you go. Right. Okay.
yeah.
Let's switch to something slightly different then if you want to
Okay.
do that, Jeremy.
Sorry about that, Dylan. I was trying to
No,
be
there's no
as
stress.
realistic as possible.
Nothing
No,
to
I mean, these are the people I deal with, but I actually just needed this because my whole process has been past and future. It's never been right now, so it's like just trying to make this work. It's like it's definitely new, but this just makes so much more sense than what I've been doing. So if I can nail this down now, we're laughing.
Okay. All
100%.
right.
Right. Are we going from the start again, is it? Or do you wanna
Is that
No,
what you reckon, Jeremy? Should we go from the opening
no, I
question?
mean,
Huh?
I can just say, okay, I mean, I can just change it up to where I did tweak my back a week ago. We'll just say.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. We'll let you start then, Jeremy, and tell us what's going on.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I went to go pick up, this little girl, and it was like I felt something pop in my back, and it was like, oh, here we go again, and it's just been one of these things that's been nagging me for 10 years, and it's like I'm sick and tired of this keep going out, it's holding me back on being able to get in shape, and now it's also affecting me being able to work and sitting down for too long, and long car rides and all that stuff. And it's like I've got to get this taken care of.
right?
All right.
So there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was gonna recap Josh. I'm in between now recapping or just challenging him. Just are
Recap.
we okay, we'll do the recap. So okay, cool. Then I'll go into my question. So basically, Jeremy, you had a pop in your back recently,
Yeah.
and this has been going on for 10 plus years now, where it's holding you back from getting in shape, and even on simple basic movements like going on long car journeys, it's affecting you there as well. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But you
I want to.
missed probably the most important one. I could be wrong. What was the one you missed where it's affecting him? You missed his work. It's affecting his work.
Work.
We can probably financially qualify that.
Mm.
Okay. So make sure you don't miss anything, especially when it might be the most important one. Keep going, Dylan.
Okay, so Jeremy, I know you mentioned like here we go again, right? This is
Yeah.
obviously been happening for quite some time. But how is this impacting your life any differently than it would have impacted your life in the past when you tweaked your back?
Start more with curiosity. When you say here we go again, Jeremy, what do you mean by that?
Mm,
You'll get to the same thing of what's really going on, but it's much more detached and curious as opposed to just going for the fucking anvil drop.
mm,
Start with leaning out a little bit more. Get to
okay.
your more direct questions later on, and you'll find you don't need to use as many of them and they'll land so much better. Just start with being curious. Okay. Go from
Perfect. So Jeremy, when you say like here we go again, like, what do you mean by that?
Well, it's just like when I've missed work for, up to 6 weeks, I mean, luckily I don't have the same job. I work from home, but it's like instead of sitting at a computer, it's like I feel like I need to be in bed resting. And if I'm in bed resting, then I'm not able to do what I need to do for work. And then I am self-employed and I don't have, disability insurance like I did before. So if I miss work, it's going to mean, a huge drop in income.
And so has it led to a huge drop in income for you right now?
You want me to answer you, Josh? Okay. Well, not yet, but if because my clients have already paid me, but like if I can't, yeah, I mean, potentially could, because, I mean, I've got to be able to fulfill, my clients, being able to take care of them. And so, granted, it's just been a week or whatever, so they've been kind of forgiving, but, I can't be out for a month or something like that, or give them a free month or whatever, I'd have to be able to, keep the ball rolling.
And when you said, here we go again, in the past, how long has it taken you out for?
Yeah, like 4 to 6 weeks.
And so far it's been one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you think is the likelihood if you don't get this handled based on how you feel now compared to the last time you had that pop? How likely do you think it is it will be another 5 weeks?
Probably pretty likely, or I'm just going to have to like suffer through it.
Okay. So either your clients suffer or you suffer.
Right. In
Sounds like
which case, either way, I'll suffer.
sorry, one sec. Sounds like a pretty lose-lose situation.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the likelihood, if you had to put it as a percentage, that if nothing changes, it is going to be somewhere between another 4 to 6 weeks? 100% being
Yeah.
it is
Probably
going to be.
say 80. Yeah.
Okay, 80%. And what is the cost that that's going to be for you in terms of losing clients, not enrolling new clients, potentially refunding clients? Take, for example, in the last 30 days, what did you generate in your business from new
Yeah.
sales?
25K.
Okay, so that was 25,000 in new sales. And how would your ability to generate new sales be affected over the next 5 weeks if you don't get this handled? Would that go to zero basically, or what would that look like?
Yeah, probably would be virtually. I mean, I guess I could do sales calls over the phone, but and be laying in bed while I'm doing it. But I mean,
Do you think that
I
would
was
do you think that would affect your close rate in any way?
so far no, but no, it's just I feel like it would look more professional. A lot of my coaching calls are on Zoom, so I probably
Okay.
should be doing that. So yeah,
So if nothing changes, what is the current cost that you basically have over your head if you don't fix this in terms of, we'll start with the new business over the next 5 weeks that
yeah,
isn't going to come in if nothing changes? What would you put that at?
probably at least 20 to 30K.
Okay, 20 to 30K. And in terms of your existing clients that you would still have to fulfill over the next 5 to 6 weeks, what is kind of the total revenue of those existing clients that you kind of still have to fulfill?
Yeah, probably in that range as well. I
Okay,
just picked up one yesterday for 10K, so it's probably going to be closer to that 30K mark.
okay, so let's take the smaller number for the new clients, 20, and the bigger number for the existing, that's 30.
Okay.
If you stay with how you currently feel, if you were to just ballpark the number, how many clients do you think are going to ask for either a full or a partial refund?
That's what I'm worried about with the previous clients. So
Okay.
I put that number in there. I gave you the 30. That's why I said that.
So
That's
you
why it's a
think
little bit higher.
you think all 30,000 would say, "Hey, Jeremy, if you can't fulfill at the level that we've invested in you, then we want a full refund."
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so the current cost of this for you is over the next 5 weeks, this is a 50K cost.
Yeah. Yeah. If not more, because I was planning on running ads this month.
Okay. You see what I'm doing, Dylan? Very quickly. Like I basically sold the program already. It's like it's 50K or give me 5K.
Yeah.
Right. And we're only just onto that. We're not onto the fact that, if I then do want to go back in the past, hey Jeremy, how long has this, been going on for where you're out for 5 to 6 weeks? Oh, it's been 3 years. How many times in the last 3 years has that happened? 5 times. So are you telling me that because you didn't get this handled 3 years ago at the root cause, 5 times $50,000, it's already cost you $250,000? Notice how quickly I'm just blowing this fucking number up, and I'm not making these numbers up. I'm getting this information from Jeremy. Yeah. Then we would probably transition into something like a why now. Okay. I mean, this has cost you $250,000, Jeremy, ballpark in the number, because you didn't get to the root cause of this nagging, mobility that keeps popping and taking you out of action. Was there something that shifted now as to why you're not going to add another 50,000 to the total cost that you've paid for not resolving this? Oh yeah, the reason why, and I always use this example, guys, because it's a simple one, is my wife's pregnant. Okay, got it. So $50,000 6 months ago wasn't that big a deal. You can swallow it, but now, $50,000 is the difference between your wife having the kid and having to raise a newborn but go back to work versus raise a newborn and you can take care of her financially because you're not flushing money down the toilet. There's always got to be that combination of what it's costing them amplified by why that cost is so pertinent right now. It's a combination of those two crosshairs aligning. It's like $250,000 is a big deal to anybody. But if someone's been paying that $250,000 over the last 3 years, in their mind, it's like, so what? I'll just keep paying it. For most people, making a change, changing direction is harder than actually continuing to lose money. So what is combined with the cost that they're currently paying that has now woken them the fuck up? That they're like, I know I've been paying this. I'm aware I've been paying this. I've chosen to pay this, but I'm not going to pay it anymore because of blank. Does that make sense how it all connects together? Now, you see how quickly I'm doing this. And it also, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, in the chat, I'm doing it quick, but it doesn't feel like I'm rushing. Like I'm still super chill. Okay, what about this? Okay, got it. What about this? Got it. It's because my pacing is I'm slowly delivering the question. I'm not saying, what about this? What about this? What about this? I'm saying, okay, pause. What about this? Pause, get the answer from Jeremy, and boom, I'm into the next question. The gap from question to question to question is very short, but how I'm delivering my words and my tonality and my body language and my energy is super spaced out, super chill. Yeah. Okay. Does that make sense? All right, let's go back and I'll give you a shot, Dylan, see how far you go. I get this is new, so, and this is very different to your current process. So just see how far you go and I'll coach you through it. Okay, let's go back to what Jeremy said before, as far as, I think the wording was something like, oh, not again, or something like that. He said something like that.
Oh yeah,
We'll start.
here we go again.
Here we go again. We'll start from there. Okay.
So Jeremy, when you mentioned "here we go again," like what did you mean by that?
Well, I just, I know that when I heard it last time, it took me 5 or 6 weeks I was in bed for 3 or 4 weeks and I just didn't feel comfortable going back to work. And so I'm worried about how I'm going to be able to, continue to fulfill for my clients. And so I'm worried, I've got ads that are getting ready to go live. I'm expecting to take sales calls. And now I'm like, okay, how am I going to be able to do this if I'm laid up in pain or I've got pain meds or muscle relaxers? I'm not going to be as sharp as I normally would be.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to being out of work, like I know you mentioned the last time was 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
What kind of financial impact did that have?
Well, back then I was selling windows, and so I was making about 10 to 15K a month back then.
Okay, and how much would you be
So
making now, Jeremy? So like
uh,
let's say this happens for 5 to 6 weeks again. How much
yeah,
is that going to set you back?
currently I'm averaging about 25K a month. So it would probably be 25 to 40,000 if it went 6 weeks. And then I've got new clients as well that just onboarded. So like I've got to be able to deliver for them. Otherwise, I may end up losing that revenue.
Mm-hmm. And these new clients that you've just recently onboarded, if this doesn't actually get solved at the root cause, are you going to be able to fulfill their needs?
Well, I'm going to do the best I can. I'll have to fight through it. Otherwise, I'd be worried that, I'd have to refund them or something.
How worried
Mm,
are you that you being able to fight through it will lead to a refund?
I think if I fought through it, I'll be okay.
Okay.
But like I said, I just won't be as sharp as I normally am. And so I would feel like, I would expect myself to be at a 10 where I might only be at a 7 or 8 for them, but they wouldn't necessarily know because they haven't been with me, so.
Not trying to, encourage you to do anything wrong against your clients, but if they wouldn't know, can you help me understand why this matters?
Well, I guess I'm just afraid that I just want to be able to deliver at the highest level for them to make sure that they're getting what they paid for.
I get that. It sounds like you're a
Yeah.
very noble person, but in terms of why this matters to you needing to fix it right now, aside from maybe just being a very good person, why does that matter?
I guess what I'm worried about is like if I can't show up, if I can't fight through it, that's what I'm worried about.
Right.
You know,
Notice what I'm doing, Dylan. I'm not moving on. Like it's either costing you something right now or it's not. Being a good person doesn't close sales calls, guys. I'm a good person, and because I've got morals, therefore I'm going to give you 10 grand. People don't do that, guys. People give you 10 grand when it's going to cost them 50 grand to not give you the 10 grand. That's the only reason people give you money, guys. The actual seesaw is in their favor. The seesaw isn't, oh, well, my morals are going to be affected. So, does that make sense, guys? You got to use a little bit of social calibration to realize that, and you're not doing this combatively. It's not like, oh, who gives a shit about your morals, Jeremy? I respect that, Jeremy. You see my language. I'm very calm. I'm like, that makes total sense that you're obviously a good person. I still don't understand. I'm putting myself in the firing line. Like, I don't get that, Jeremy. I understand morality, but I'm still not quite clear why that matters enough for us to be on this call. And I'm just going to hold the line until he says, well, and then the opening was when he said, well, if I'm honest, I'm not sure I can. I'm not sure if I will be able to fight through it. Okay, what do you mean? Well, I tried last time and it lasted 5 to 6 weeks. Okay, now I'm going to get Jeremy to sell himself. What do you think is the likelihood that that repeats itself right now? If I'm honest, Josh, probably 80%. Okay, and so what would that be costing you if that number is accurate? Well, let's just take $50,000. Let's say that was what it was. If over the next 5 weeks, if we multiply that by the probability, some basic maths here, Jeremy, that's basically $40,000 that is on the line right now, basically at a 100% probability. Does that maths make sense? Yes. Okay. All right. Now, if your program's 5K, sure, you can do a lot more in the discovery. You can get into the feelings. You can get into the total cost in the past, blah, blah, blah. Why hasn't he solved it? Why is this time different? But at a very simple level, this is going to cost you 40,000. Our program is 5. There's a lot more you want to do to not be rolling the dice and to be a professional that is guaranteeing you're going to close the deal. But to just be blunt, that's still enough. It's like, it's going to cost you 40,000 if you don't do anything. The program's 5. Do you want to pay 40,000 or do you want to pay 5? I'll pay 5. Okay, that makes total sense. You understand basic maths.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying I'm going to try and close it on that because I just want the deck to be so stacked in my favor that I'm going to get rich in sales. I don't want to be like, well, this should close the deal logically. But does that make sense as far as like basic, simple terms, guys? That's what you're trying to do on a sales call. It's costing them more right now to not take action. Yeah. All right. Keep going.
100%.
Keep going from there, Dylan. Go from wherever you want to jump in.
So I think the last place we were was it's costing you. I think the last thing you said, Jeremy, was it's costing you 25K to 40K a month. Oh yeah, so it's with these new clients that you've just recently on board, Jeremy, like how worried are you that you might not actually be able to fulfill what you promised them?
Yeah. Pretty worried.
And what would it mean if you couldn't fulfill their needs?
Before you get to what would it mean, you need to tackle the pretty worried. That's too vague. Like how worried is that quantifiably? Do you know? No. So quantify that first, then go into the next bit. Do the quantifying first.
Okay. So when you say that you're quite worried, Jeremy, like what do you mean by that?
Still
I
not
mean,
still not tackling the quantifying. What do you mean is going to get words? When you say you're pretty worried, in terms of like a percentage that this is going to happen, where would you put that? In terms of 1 to 10, where would you put that? Like numbers can't lie.
Okay.
In
Right.
this context, we need a hard number because then he can't fight against it. Okay, keep going, Dylan.
Okay. So Jeremy, when you say you're pretty worried, let's just say on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you're extremely worried, 1 you don't care. Whereabouts are we
Hang
there?
on. I think what you're missing, and it's my fault for not explaining it, we need to shift worried to probability. You're not asking him on a scale of 1 to 10, how worried are you? We're quantifying the reason for the worry. So when you say you're pretty worried, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely do you think this is going to happen? Hence the worry.
Mm,
We're
yeah.
shifting the worry to a likelihood. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I didn't explain that very well before.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, I totally get that. So Jeremy, when you say that you're pretty worried, like on a scale of 1 to 10, when you say you're pretty worried, on a scale of 1 to 10, like how likely do you think it's going to be that you can't fulfill the promises you made to your clients?
Very good, Dylan.
Yeah, I'd probably say like 7 or 8. Like it's pretty high.
Okay, about a 7 or an 8. So the chances are,
Sorry, one more thing, Dylan. Because Jeremy's a little bit checked out, like he's answering questions and he's telling you the truth, but he's not like emotional about it. When I'm watching that in the prospect, I'm thinking in my mind, I want to tie you down even more. So what could I have added onto that final answer when he said, "Oh, a 7 or an 8, pretty worried." What could you have said next to tie him down more?
I was going to go into like what impact that would have if it doesn't get fulfilled.
Not yet. No. You could literally just say why.
Mm.
And just by saying why, he has to buy more into the response. If you're asking someone a question, remember the reason you're asking the question is to get them to feel the answer. People can tell you the answer and they're not really feeling it. Yeah, I'm pretty worried, Dylan. It's like a 7 or 8, as opposed to, oh man, it's like 80%. Like the intensity
Mm.
of him telling you that answer is the same 7 or 8 or 80%, but he's bought in or he's not bought in. If they're not bought in, go again. Like hit him again. Okay, okay, you said a 7 or 8. Why? And notice how I'm going to buy him in more as well by the fact that my question verbiage and my tonality is pretty intense. Why? Because I'm like I'm going to lead you to you're either going to play my game or you're not going to play my game. You're either going to get bought into this or you're not. I'm going to try and see if you want to face the music. Okay? Does this make sense as far as the philosophy?
Yeah.
You've
100%.
got to watch the
Absolutely.
prospect. Okay? All right, keep going.
Okay, so let's say, Jeremy, you said a 7 or an 8 out of 10. So why is that?
And even notice the difference adding on why is that? It's just not as intense. You say,
Just
okay,
why?
and you were like, you preambled it as well. Okay, so when you say a 7 or an 8, blah, 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 why is that? It's too long winded. You're detached because your question's so long winded, and Jeremy's going to continue to be detached. He says something, and you're reading him like an open book, and you go, why? Just that. And now
One
he's like,
word.
oh shit, pattern interrupt. Like I can't go anywhere from here.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, that
calibrate.
was my bad. I was just
Not at
recapping.
all.
I
No
should I
worries.
should have just went straight into it. So we'll just pick it up from. I'm just going to go straight into why, Jeremy, and we'll go
Well,
from there.
I'll say,
Let's
okay,
let's do
so,
the let's do it all together so you can get the flow. So ask him
Okay.
the question of, when you say you're pretty worried, and then numericize it and go from there. And we'll practice this as a little sequence. Okay.
Okay. Right. So Jeremy, when you say you're pretty worried, let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely is it that you're not going to be able to fulfill the needs of your clients that you promised them?
yeah, probably a 7 or an 8.
Why?
Well, because, last time I literally was in bed for
Pause,
weeks.
Jeremy.
Yeah.
Even Jeremy's playing a prospect, and he's now stuttering over his words. He's like, like he's having to justify himself.
Yeah.
That's the power.
Yeah.
He's playing a prospect, and he's even as a fake prospect, he's like, I better give a good fucking answer here because they feel the energy. Whether it's real or fake, you can't hide from the energy. Okay, all right, keep going.
Mm,
Keep
Yeah,
answering
I mean,
whatever you're
because
saying, Jeremy.
last time when I, had this injury, I mean, it was at least a couple of weeks before I felt like I could move around the house, So I've got to be able to deliver on these clients because like I'm not in a position where I can go months without income.
Watch me time down again if I need to. Just to give an example. Okay, so that was last time. How does the severity of this time when it popped compared to last time? Because if he then says it's the same or worse, he's triple tied himself down to the probability that he's going to spend 5 weeks out of action.
Yeah. Yeah.
He says,
Yeah.
oh, well, last time I was out for 5 weeks, I've just told you, Dylan, that I think it's an 80% likelihood that the same thing happens. I've told you why I think it's at that 80% likelihood. And I've now compared it to how bad it was last time. And this time's even worse. He's basically gone from telling you it's an 80% likelihood to 100% without telling you the words 100%. He's tied
Mm.
himself so deeply into that he's fucked. Right?
hmm
Okay. All right. Keep going from there. Sorry to keep interrupting, guys. I just want to train you through what we're doing.
Yeah.
No, I need this. I need this, so I appreciate it. So, how does the severity of this time compare to the last? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. The pop.
Oh, the
That
pop,
was
yeah.
that was the key that Josh said.
So it was the pop.
So
So
last time when your back popped, you were out of work for 5 weeks. You couldn't fulfill clients. You couldn't do this, whatever, blah, 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 blah. How does the severity of this time it popped and how you feel compared to last time?
Yeah.
Oh, well, if I'm honest, Josh, it's the same or worse. So long as he says same or worse. And
hmm
here's the crazy thing, guys. Let's just play devil's advocate. Oh, this time's nowhere near as bad. Okay, interesting. So if last time was 5 weeks and it was a lot worse, and this time's nowhere near as bad, can you go back a bit, Jeremy? I'm confused why you think this might be an 80% likelihood. I'm just going to remake him sell himself
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
I don't care which direction he goes. He's going to wrap himself up either way, so
Yeah.
long as I'm not attached to the outcome and I'm just curious. And I'm like, okay, well, now I don't understand this. Can you explain that? Oh, yeah, well, blah, blah, blah. And they'll just keep tying themselves up in circles if you let them tie themselves up. The more you try and tie them up yourself with ask these challenging, direct questions, they're like, no, I don't want to play that game. And they'll just back out. Whereas when you're like, I'm confused, I'm dumb, I don't get it, you fix it and tell me, how you're going to sell yourself, they'll just sell themselves. That's the crazy thing. You make more money having more fun, doing less work if you understand the core principles. Yeah?
Yeah.
hmm
Keep going.
So, Jeremy, the last time your back popped, you were out of work for 5 to 6 weeks. How's the severity of this time round where your back popped compared to the past time or the most recent time it happened?
Yeah. As best as I can recall, it's about the same.
Okay.
So, given that it's about the same, I'm just going to re ask the previous question because now he's starting to connect the dots and see what I'm doing and see what he's saying. So, if this is about the same, what would you say is the likelihood that you are going to be out of work for 5 to 6 weeks like last time? Well, I guess if I really think about it now, it's probably it's probably a 90 to 100%. And he's just gonna, and this is the thing, it's not, you don't want to view it as, well, why did the prospect say 80% before? They said 80% based on their previous level of clarity, based on their previous level of the dots being connected. The more you connect the dots for them, they're like, oh, now the picture resolution is a lot clearer. It's fucking high definition now. But as you're walking them through more clarity, you want to reassess. Okay, cool. Where are we at now? Oh, actually, now fuck, I feel terrible now. And probably because he's had the dots connect, it will come with emotion. He'll say, "Well, now I feel like it's pretty much 100%." Okay, and I noticed that you sighed when you said that, Jeremy. Why? Well, I guess I've not really been being honest with myself that if I don't get this handled, it's definitely going to be 5 weeks and I'm going to lose 50,000. And boom, like he's really selling himself now on the fact that he needs to do something. But all you're doing is you're kind of looping around as each circle around, they get more clarity, more awareness, more consciousness of what's going on. And then they're able to make a better decision of what they're saying and what they're doing because they have better information. They have more clear information. That's all you're doing is you're giving them more clarity of the information. Is this making sense?
So much sense.
Good stuff. All right, keep going, brother.
So, given that this is pretty much the same as last time, Jeremy, I mean, no. How did you phrase that again?
So, given that this is basically the same as far as you can recall, intensity of the problem as last time, and last time you were out of work for 5 to 6 weeks, what do you think is the likelihood that the same amount of time you're going to be out of work again? I'm just slowly
Mm,
piecing it together. And I'm not pausing intentionally, by the way, guys. I'm pausing because I'm trying to remember. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so you said this. Let me try and remember the other piece. And that was 5 to 6 weeks. Let me remember the other piece. And this time's worse. Now let me think about what question I want to ask. And I'm working myself through what I'm speaking, what I'm asking. It's not supposed to be perfect, guys. It's supposed to be methodical. Work yourself through what you're trying to think and what you're trying to say. Don't worry about having this perfect question straight off the bat. Sometimes you'll be watching the prospect and you'll know they're not bought in, and the question will come and you'll just say why, and it will just come to you. Sometimes it will be delivered like that, and other times you need to think things through. There's more information to process. It's like a computer. Sometimes if you're running one program, computer's lightning fast. Everything's moving around. You move the mouse around. It's like zig, 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 zig. Other times you've got 7 programs running and your computer's fucking slowing down. It just is what it is. Certain things take more processing power, and just let the computer, which is your brain, work through it. Okay? All right, keep going.
So, Jeremy, given that the last time your back popped, you were out of work for 5 to 6 weeks, and now you're telling me you're experiencing the same intensity of the pain. What's the likelihood that this is or that you're going to be out of work for another 5 to 6 weeks?
Perfect. The only thing I would have changed, and this is just tiny, tiny, what do you feel? What do you feel? Because by just putting in the what do you feel, you're putting the ownership on Jeremy. Whereas when you say what do you think the likelihood is, or what is the likelihood? I think you maybe said what is the likelihood? Sounds
Mm,
more like you're asking him for a fact, whereas we're actually asking him for his opinion. Because his opinion is the only one that matters on the sales call. Your opinion doesn't matter. God's opinion, his peers, none of that matters. His opinion is this is bad and I need to do something about it, or it's not. And if it isn't his opinion, at the end of the call, this is the crazy thing, even if logically someone knows I'm in a dumb situation, I need to change it, but I don't feel like it was my opinion that got to that conclusion, they won't buy because people have a massive fucking ego. Even if logically they're going to keep losing money, if they feel they got manipulated to the outcome, they won't buy from you because they got such a big ego. So you've got to play the logic and you've got to play their ego both at the same time. And the best way to do that is be detached in some of your questions. And you're taking the data, which is the logic, and the phrasing of the question, what do you feel, which is the ego. So the logic is, got it. Logically, last time it happened was the same time, if was the same intensity, if not, sorry, was the same intensity as now, and that took you out for 5 to 6 weeks. Logic, 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 logic. Can't argue with the data because you gave me the data. Ego. So in your opinion, what do you feel is the likelihood that you're out for 5 weeks again? In your opinion, what do you feel? Now I'm playing against his ego. So the logic plus the ego combine, he can't wriggle out of that. Whereas if one is without the other, if you're, not going deep enough on the data, his ego can counter you because you didn't use data for your argument. Or if you have beautiful data, but then you're trying to convince someone, their ego will be like, the data makes sense, but I don't want you to convince me. I want to come up with my own conclusion. See
Yeah,
how these
Josh,
two-
I've got a question on that. Like as I heard when you said it to me the first time around, it didn't feel like it was leading. And when he was saying it, it felt like it was kind of a leading question. And I'm wondering, is this kind of a leading question where you're saying, okay, so maybe it's coming from the confusion or something, but okay, so previously when you had it pop, you were out for 5 to 6 weeks, and this time when it popped, the severity was about the same. What do you, it feels like the last part of that question feels like it's kind of leading them to the conclusion to manipulate them to say, why do you think it's not going to be 100% if it's the same as last time?
If you phrased it like that, definitely. But I
Yeah.
still understand your point.
Yeah.
We're not leading them though. We're concluding the data.
Okay. Okay.
It's not, and it's also not my data, Jeremy. It's your
Yeah.
data.
Yeah. Yeah.
So leading is when you haven't got data and you're trying to ask someone binary questions without having any reason to be asking between
Okay.
option A and option B.
Okay.
Right? It's kind of like let me draw simply on a whiteboard. If you had three color choices, if you had blue, red, and green, right? And you then say to someone, or let's say we're going to paint the wall of the bedroom, and there's three color options, blue, red, or green, right? And I'm your wife, Jeremy, and I say to you, Jeremy, should we do it in red or should we do it in green? That's leading because I didn't even give you the fucking option of blue, even
Okay.
though there was three color choices, right?
Okay.
Option two is I say, Jeremy, what is your two favorite colors? Well, I like blue and I like red. Okay, Jeremy, do you want to do blue or red? The
Mm.
second question was based on data that you gave me.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And so, okay, for this silly example, could you ask, okay, why do you not like green or something? Or
Well,
what about, or
that
what
would
about
depend. That
green?
would depend on previous data. So, for
Okay.
example, if earlier on you had said to me something like the week before, you'd said, "Oh, I saw this research study that if you want to have more of a calm mind, you should be working in an office space or having the space around you be green. Then, if we had this second conversation a week later, then because of previous data, I might say, I'm curious, how does that compare the fact that you chose red to the study that you read a week ago about working in a more peaceful green environment? You
Yeah.
see how I'm only asking questions that are, you could call them binary, based on
Yeah.
your data.
Okay.
The issue that most salespeople do is they don't want to start with an open playing field because they feel like it's too many options and they're going to lose control of the sales call. So they're
Yeah.
like, let me just offer you blue or red.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is if you offer someone blue or red and they then find out that there was also the color green, they're going to feel like you're a bad person and they'll never talk to you again.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Keep going, guys, from wherever you want to keep going from.
So I'll just finish off with the second half of the question. So Jeremy, in your opinion, what do you feel is the likelihood that this could go on for another 5 to 6 weeks being out of work?
Do you want to add in the severity contrasting the popped last time versus this time?
Yeah, to make that question make a lot of sense, Dylan, you need to contextualize it. Okay, got it. So last time this happened, you were out for 5 to 6 weeks. This time, the intensity that you're feeling as far as the pain and the severity is basically the same. So how long do you think you're going to be out for? Could ask it like that. Or what do you think is the likelihood that you're going to be out for 5 to 6 weeks again, given that it's the same as before? How the final way you phrase it doesn't matter so much because you're contextualizing it with data. Okay. But all we're doing, the key thing we're training on, guys, is doing a loop. Asking someone a question, digging deeper, then finding out that their previous answer was probably a lack of awareness, and then giving them a second opportunity to change their perspective now that they've seen things in a different light. Okay? All right.
Good. So considering that the last time that your back popped, Jeremy, you were out of work for 5 to 6 weeks, and now you're telling me that the pain you're experiencing now is up to the same intensity as the last time. In your opinion, what do you feel is the likelihood that you could be out of work for another 5 to 6 weeks again?
Perfect. But if you throw that little word could in, gives him a tiny little out. Will be,
Will.
not could be, because we're also concluding it with data.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
other than that, that was right. But that could, I was like,
Okay.
ugh. He still has a slight out with that word could.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
true.
No.
Don't, and this
Go ahead.
goes against a lot of other sales training, which is don't be definitive in your words. Say possibly, say maybe. Yes, if you haven't gathered data, but once you've gathered data, you need to be giving people closed doors, because otherwise you're giving them too many, well, maybe this, possibly that, and then they're not going to make a decision. The reason that is typically trained in other contexts is most salespeople don't know how to gather data. And therefore they're trying to say, well, should you do this or should you do that? And the person's like, well, I don't like that you're trying to push me in one direction or the other. Whereas if you said, possibly, might it maybe make sense to do this, that lowers sales resistance. But it doesn't create a buyer. It lowers sales resistance, but it doesn't create a decision. What you need at the end of a sales call is no resistance, because you actually let them come to their own conclusions, plus a definitive conclusion to make a decision. You can't have definitive conclusions with possiblies, maybes, should do's, and all of that. It's not definitive. So first, open-ended, possiblies, maybes, could be's in terms of, I don't know what the data is. It might be this, it might be that. I'm going to gather the data and find conclusive evidence. Once I've got conclusive evidence, I'm then going to ask my questions definitively. In your opinion, what do you feel is the likelihood that you're out for another 5 weeks? Well, I think the likelihood is 80%. I think the likelihood is 80%. Not, I think the likelihood might be, possibly, could be 80%. Then he's not going to give you money at the end of the call because it's still a possibility. People aren't going to give you the definitive $10,000 in their bank account for a possibility that there's a problem that they didn't solve. They'll only give you the actual $10,000 for a definitive cost of more than $10,000. If you don't show them that that seesaw is definitive, they won't buy. Does that make sense, everyone? Okay. All right, keep going.
So I asked the question. I don't think we actually
Yeah.
got an
Oh,
answer.
okay. Yeah, good. No, great question, Dylan. I mean, I guess I'm hoping it's 80%, but it's probably going to be that much longer. Maybe even longer, just the fact that I'm older.
And so I'm curious, are you willing to roll the dice on $50,000 for hope?
Definitely not.
Right? If someone wants to give you possiblies, maybes, sort ofs, hope, all of that bullshit, I'm going to give them a choice. Awesome, Jeremy. You can do that if you would like. Do you want to do that? No, I don't. And because knowing the buyer psychology, because he's trying those outs, I'm definitely going to tie him down. Okay, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. If their
Yep.
language is all of this, try and, evade making a decision, I'm like, better triple time down,
Yep. Yep.
100%. Right. So anytime someone responds to one question without a definitive yes or no, or this is my opinion, this is what I think, this is what I feel, you kind of need to loop around. You need to go back again because you're asking a question to move the ball forward, but you move to the ball forward and you put the ball on unstable ground. So it's like we've moved forward, but this is not certain. It could just roll backwards again. Right? Is that clear, Dylan?
Yeah, so he didn't give he didn't give a definite answer, so you're kind of giving him the option, does he want to roll the dice on the
100%.
odds that he has at hand? Okay.
Exactly. And it's a choice. I'm not saying, well, Jeremy, you can't do hope. You can't do that. I'm saying, awesome. Would you like to just play the hope game? Notice the context though, for the tune of 50,000.
Hmm.
Wouldn't have really landed if I'd have just said, okay, well, do you want to hope for it? He'd be like, well, meh, kind of, maybe, yes, like he wouldn't have given you a definitive answer. Okay, Jeremy, well, it sounds like the cost of you hoping could be $50,000. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? I'm going to make you make the decision, Jeremy. I'm
Hmm.
not going to make it for you.
Yeah.
Because anytime I make the decision for you at the end of the call, when I say, overcome your fear to give your 16-digit credit card to a total stranger, overcome the fear that you're spending a lot of money on this, overcome the fear that, guarantees could get scammed, this, that, and the other, what they refer back to is, well, maybe I should think about it more. And what they actually mean by think about it more is I didn't really come to my own conclusion during this discovery. I kind of got led there. So I think I'd like to have ask a friend, time out and take a rain check on this and come back to it. They don't need to take a rain check on the decision when they just naturally came to the decision on their own. The more
Yeah.
you push them through the decision, the more they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Now you're asking me for my credit card? Hang on, let me think about it. Right. Whereas if they actually felt like you weren't leading them anywhere, what do they need to think about? They've been thinking for the last 30 minutes and they've concluded their own information for 30 minutes. They are definitive. I know what I need to do and I need to do it right now. And I made that decision myself. And Josh just listened to me basically. If you do a really good discovery, the prospect doesn't feel like you asked them questions. They actually feel like all you did was sat there listening and they kind of forget that you were the one pulling that information out of them. Their kind of recollection of the call was, wow, this person was just listening to my story and listening to me thinking my own way through my decisions. Yes, motherfucker, I was puppeteering you to do all of that, but you'll forget that. And that's kind of the watch this hand while I do this with this hand, and they're not really knowing what you're doing.
Hmm.
Yeah, of
Can I ask a question there?
course you can.
So I can tell what you're doing now, even with the odds of like taking hope, it's gonna come to the conclusion of like, okay, I'm not gonna roll the dice, I'm gonna take action today. The biggest problem that I have is that these guys I'm on calls with don't even know they're on sales call. So I still have to unsell them what they've bought and convince them they need the coaching. So I find it difficult to get to the end point because they're not actually aware that I'm pitching them coaching.
So how are you currently doing that?
So basically, what we're doing is like getting like an understanding of the situation. Once I understand that, I tell them, okay, this like $67 program, it's not going to be the magic bullet to solve your problems. If you are serious about solving your problems, we're going to have to go down this route. That's kind of what
Yeah,
we're
I,
doing.
I can do that, but just turned it up by 10 with what we're doing with Jeremy. It would sound something like this, not riffed very well, but something like, okay, so given that this has cost you $250,000 over the last 3 years, and it's currently going to cost you another $50,000 if nothing changes, do you think a $67 PDF is the amount of commitment you would like to put into not paying that $250,000 any longer. All I'm doing is just going deeper on it. I'm doing the same thing
Yeah,
as you, but I'm just stacking it with all the data.
And you're not telling them. That was
that's
one
it.
thing you
It's a
said.
question.
Yeah, you just said that you're telling them it's not going to be that way, whereas Josh is asking them the question that gets you, the prospect, to tell them why it's not.
Do you
Yeah.
think part of the
100%.
problem in regards to why you've paid $250,000 over the last 3 years, Jeremy, has anything to do with the fact that your current approach to solving it is spending less than $100 and going through some books? Do you think
Yeah.
that has anything to do with why you've paid such a big price?
Yeah.
It's a question. It's like, do you think? And that it's
I
pretty
liked what you
pretty
said
hard for
about the
them.
commitment level, though, too.
Yeah,
The $167 commitment level.
yeah.
Like, I really like that part.
But it only works because of the anchoring compared to the
Mhm.
250,000.
Yep.
If I'd have
Yep.
just said, okay, Jeremy, so you tweaked your back, it's been nagging a few times, you're pretty hyper aware of it. Do you feel like a $67 commitment is the right level for you? Yeah, that's a good starting point. That'd probably be your answer. Whereas if I compare it to the anchoring of, so it's cost you $250,000, and right now there is $50,000 in, what do they call it in business? In escrow. And right now there's $50,000 in escrow that in the next 30 days is either going to be in your account or it's not. Do you feel that $67 investment is the level of commitment that you would like to put into choosing to not pay $50,000 in 30 days?
Yeah.
Oh shit, $67. And I know, and I've just told Dylan and myself 4 times that the likelihood is 100% that that $50,000 is going to be paid. No, how it's almost like the question that then goes through their mind is how much could I pay? Like, what would be the maximum amount that I could possibly pay to not pay 50,000? It's like,
Mhm.
can I give you 10,000 and you would guarantee that I don't pay the 50? It's like, sure, you can give me $10,000. Like, that's kind of the way their mind has been twisted now. They're like, they want to pay as much as they possibly can to not pay the 50,000. Whereas before their mindset was, what's the least amount that I can pay? And that's all price anchoring. You're just switching the perspectives. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, really appreciate that because that was something I struggled with. It's like I wanted to find a way where it's their decision to explore the pitch and not me just tell them because it can backfire.
Yeah. Another way you can do it is once you've covered all of the data and all of the pain, you then obviously need to get into the ownership and the cause of why they think they're in that situation. When they say, I think I'm in this situation because I haven't really tried hard enough, you then flip that to, can I be honest with you, Dylan? Yes. Given that for the last 3 years you haven't tried hard enough and it's cost you $250,000 and you've got another $50,000 that you're about to pay, do you think a $67 crash course is trying hard enough to actually fix this? Now they're going to say, no, of course not. Okay, why not? Well, probably if I'd have done a $67 course 3 years ago, it might have been enough. But given how long I've waited and procrastinated and stacked all of the odds against me, I need something more full stack to actually fix this. Okay, what do you think you need? Well, and they'll probably say, I don't know. You say, okay, do you want me to make some suggestions of what some of our other clients have used, which were in the same position as you? 3 years had gone by, they kept procrastinating, and they'd paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. Do you want me to share what they did? Yes. Well, they joined our elite program where they got mentorship, they got training, blah, 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 blah. What do you think about that? Well, I think that'd be awesome. Do you think it would be awesome enough that you'd be willing to make a significantly larger investment to not pay 250,000? Well, how big's the investment? Well, that wasn't my question. My question was, do you think all of those additional leverage points are worth it? Or would you rather roll the dice on hope that you don't pay $50,000, which in your words was 100% likely in the next 30 days? No, I guess I need to do whatever it takes. Don't tell them the price and don't tell them the details until they tell you the commitment. Okay. And then I would tie them down again. Why? Well, because of blank, blank, blank. And I'm just going to keep tying them down until I'm like, they're so tied down, they can't go backwards now. I'm now going to move into the next steps, which is the pitch. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm going to finish up with some questions or some takeaways for Chris. And I'll do Dylan and Jeremy takeaways at the end as well. All right, we got Chris, we got Emil. Anybody else that has takeaways or questions, put your hand up, folks. What's going on, Chris?
Hey, what's up, man? So some of the things that really came out to me was, getting the burning problem within 5 to 15 minutes. Like you gotta find it. The other thing is giving them varying levels of clarity. And each level of new clarity, there's a new tie down that happens too as well. That hit really well. And the other thing with the data collection, I did this 2 days ago on a close, and I wouldn't have done it without the mastermind. I'll give you an example. She was at 39% body fat. She was like, oh my God, last time was 30%. I was like, that's interesting. When was that? So she brings it out, last 7 months. So doing this on your own, use their own words, breaking your promises to yourself. You've been gaining 1.125% body fat each month. Is that accurate? Silence. I let her sit with it. And then we started tying her down too as well. So good stuff. Love it.
All right.
What's going on, brother?
I had two takeaways today. The first one was ask the questions to definitively to get the definitive decision at the end when you have enough data. That was a big one because if I'm reflecting on my own sales calls, like what you said, when you say possibly or perhaps, those kind of words, they say, let me just think about it. And you think, did I just didn't go enough in the pain or something? But that's the real eye-opener for me that it was that.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. The second thing is be attached to the process. That's a big one for me. Can you also say be attached to the truth, to
Yeah.
finding the truth? Okay.
100%. And it's definitive truth, meaning the truth may be that there's a burning problem. The truth may be there's no burning problem. But I don't want to be a little bit unsure. Like, was there a burning problem and I just didn't go deep enough on it? And you are willing, as I always say, to bet your commissions on it. Am I willing to say there's no burning problem and I'll flush away $1,000 commission? Well, if you're not that certain, then you know you didn't try hard enough to get to a burning problem. You should have looped around again and again and again. Once you've done enough loops that you're like, I know that I'm not throwing my commission away because I know I tried everything. There's just no burning problem. Then you would say an unsell and get off the call.
I have a question about that because in my best calls, that framework was in my head to be attached to the truth and not go further when you don't feel like you're talking about the truth. But then no shows and or some leads that could have closed but didn't, and then I'm just walking through the process without going to the truth anymore, and I don't know anymore what I did before until this call because I was attached to the truth to do next on my calls. So what can you do to stay consistent, being attached to the truth and knowing that you shouldn't go further in all your calls? So be consistent with being detached and attached to the truth, if you know what I mean.
So let me clarify, I understand. Is your question, you were attached to the truth before, but then you had some no sales and you had some low lead quality. And because of that, you started not being focused on getting to the truth and just kind of going through the motions, and then your results went down. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. And how can you get more consistent staying on the truth? That's actually my question.
Well, first thing is your pre-call checklist. That's something you read between every single call. The second thing that will keep you in the right beliefs and the right state is doing your call reviews. Because if you don't close a deal, but then you review the call and you go, oh shit, I didn't follow the process. I didn't try and get to the truth. What then changes is your belief with yourself, your self-confidence, your belief that I know what I did wrong and I know now that I'm going to do the right thing. That's the other thing, is doing your call reviews. If you do those two things religiously, you should be able to stay focused on the process regardless of the external results.
Yeah, I think what I just said, be attached to the truth, I think that's a great one to put on my pre-call checklist.
But the thing with the pre-call checklist, is you have to be more specific. Please listen to this, everyone on this call. I'm going to give Emil 2 different examples of what to write on his pre-call checklist. Listen to the difference in the power between these two. Version 1 of the pre-call checklist, Emil puts on his checklist, be attached to getting to the truth. That's version 1. Okay. Version 2, specificity, guys, which is what we teach on the sales call. Be attached to getting to the truth, even if I've not had some sales. It's the specificity that matters, guys. If you miss that second bit, it's not directly tying to where Emil's problem is coming from, which is, I'm fine with sticking to the process when things are going fine. Well, then your pre-call checklist needs to say, stay with the process when things are not going fine. It's the same as when we're contextualizing the questions. Jeremy, what do you think is the likelihood that this happens again? Well, I don't know, a 3, a 5, a 6, or this, that, and the other. Irrelevant. Versus contextualizing, given that this happened for 5 to 6 weeks last time, and the severity this time is the same, what do you think is the likelihood that it happens again? Now, because of the context, the answer to the question is more accurate. You remind yourself, Emil, when I'm not feeling good, I've had a bad streak, I've had some no sales, I've had some low lead flow, still stay attached to the process. Does that make sense?
Yep, the feeling on the second one was also way better. Way
100%. Because you're like, oh, that's the truth. When it's like half the truth, it may as well be none of the truth. It's either all truth or no truth. Half truth, stay attached to the process. Yes, fine. That's a bumper sticker. But what does that mean to you, Emil? When are you not staying attached to the process? When you read that before every call, you're like, oh yeah, you'll be banging your, like, you'll be like, oh yeah, stupid me. Of course I need to remember now to follow my process.
Hi, Josh.
What's going on?
Oh, great. Really great. It's pure gold. And I have 2 takeaways. The first one is really about quantification. I think that today I really realized the impact when, for example, he was quite worried when he had to specify, to quantify. It was amazing. This was the first one. The second one, where I posted whoa in the chat, was with the why question after he said 7 or 8. Why? And then it completely changed, I think, the direction of the discussion. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. That's interesting. I start to understand the importance of mentorship on the long run, because I watched many of your videos, everything that was on the internet. I watched it, I rewatched it. I saw it many times, but it's interesting how sometimes it takes time for a concept to click and to just, oh, yeah, that's it.
Great takeaways. Wonderful.
Thank you.
No, thank you. My pleasure.
Now I'm really starting to understand that this burning problem has to be right now. And that was like, I really do appreciate letting me do it today, because I needed that clarity. Because I was just going like, pass, pass, pass. What have you tried to, what happens if you don't change it? And it was just this battle of going back and forth. So now I'm excited to just dive right in, focus on right now and see what happens there. So that was huge. Also just like connecting dots. I've been lacking that in my calls as well. It's been like the smaller fires rather than stacking the fire again, which kind of penny dropped again today by doing the role play. Having more curiosity too, rather than going in trying to be quite direct. I should be very curious to until I actually understand before I move the conversation further.
Yeah.
Another penny drop moment for myself, and more tie downs as well. I definitely don't do enough tie downs in my calls, so really try and get them bought into the process of solving their problems and not the sale. You know, like it's more so they're tying down and actually fixing their situation basically. So yeah, I really, really appreciate the opportunity today. I just feel like I needed this more than anything, and I can't wait to get back in calls. Let's just say that.
Love it. It's a pleasure, Dylan. Do you think it's coincidence that Dylan had the most takeaways? Dylan had about 5 takeaways. Everyone else had about 2. Why? Because when you're in the arena and when you're actually the one doing the role play, you will learn even more than when you witness the role play. The second thing to point out is Dylan was like, correct me if I'm wrong here, Dylan, was like, am I eligible yet to do the role play? Have I learned enough? Have I practiced enough? Do I know enough? And Dylan was like, I'm just going to do it anyway. I'm just going to have a go. It's better to have a go and learn quicker than to sit in the back spectators' seats and say, I'll keep waiting, I'll keep waiting, I'll keep waiting until I've got more and more experience, where it's like, well, you're not going to get that much experience as a spectator in the realm of participant experience because they're different positions. It's like saying, I'm going to play on the defense until I have enough experience to play on the offense. Well, they're completely different fucking positions. So you're not going to get offense experience playing on defense. The highest level, guys, is get in the arena and be the closer, even if you're like, I still don't know if I've got it yet. No shit. You're not going to get it until you get in the arena. And like now, Dylan's like, I'm fired up. I'm excited. I've got 5 things to implement into my next calls. I'm going to do that. And what will happen? He'll do those 5 things. His close rate will go up. And then he'll come back next time and go, I'm ready for the next thing. That process will only happen in an accelerated fashion when you're on the inside. Jeremy, final takeaways.
I would say there was a couple of them. Number one was I liked how when the prospect was going on too long and you're realizing that they're talking too much, that we have to be able to rapid fire deliver the questions quicker, which basically means that it's not how fast you're talking when you're asking the question. It's quicker in interjecting when there's a breath or a pause when the prospect's talking. You're like, okay, got it. And when you're saying this, delivering it slower and changing up the pace there, that was a big aha moment for me.
You need to be precise and efficient, but you also need to be authentic and having a real conversation. Another high ticket sales role play diving into so many different nuances. The nuances are where the money is. If you don't want to continue closing at 30% and flushing down 70% of your leads that could have been money in your pocket, you need to see all of these different things that we trained on today are what you're missing. The question is, how much longer do you want to have them missing in your sales calls, knowing that each one of those things being missed is money not landing in your pocket? If you want help, if you want training, if you want mentorship and support to install these nuances into your sales calls, internal mastery, scriptless selling, and understanding human beings, click the link below this video and join the Unicorn Closer Mastermind. Remember, how you show up as a prospect when it comes time for you to buy is how your prospects will show up. Do you want to keep attracting prospects that say they need to think about it, they can figure it out on their own, and this isn't that big of a deal? Of course not. So then you need to be that prospect in your life that says, this is a big deal. I need to do something about it right now, and I'm willing to put my ego down and say I need outside help. If you want that outside help right now, as I said, click the link below this video, and I'll see you on the inside of the Unicorn Closer Mastermind.